Welcome, student. Let us continue with these lessons. We come up to this point. Okay. Establishment of the Muslim League. So here, when the rule of Lokmanya Tilak on the Congress come to an end with their death, this Mahatma Gandhi took over the uh, leadership of Congress. Okay. When in 1905 the Curzon Wiley take the decision of the diversion of what we say when he wanted to divide the Bengal province from India, a strong resistance was done by the Congress under the leadership of Lokmanya Tilak. Okay. So Britishers started to make implement the policy of divide and rule. So for this purpose, they hold some Muslim religious leaders, and they found the Muslim League, and started to create the fear of Hindus into the mind of the Muslims. Okay. So here the Muslim League was founded by these Britishers or support Muslim leaders to make the separate policy apart from the independence. Okay. So they started to using the propaganda that for the safeguarding the interest of the Muslims, they should have a separate political organizations. Due to this motivation of British government, the Committee of Upper Class Muslims under the leadership of Aga Khan met Governor General Lord Minto. Due to the motivations from the Lord Minto, the British officers called Muslim League was established in 1906. Morley-Minto Act. This is the point where this is the Home Rule League movement in India was led by the Annie Besant, who is the resident of India. Okay, Home Rule League in 1914, when the Lokmanya Tilak was released from the Mandalay jail, the First World War begins in Europe. The direct consequences of this war has to be beared by the India as well. The rates of the basic necessary commodities increased. Many restrictions were put on the Indians by the British government. This leads to great unrest, increased dissatisfactions in the mind of Indians. Under these circumstances, Dr. Annie Besant and Lokmanya Tilak started an Home Rule movement. Home Rule means the self-government. Such movement also begins in Ireland against colonialism. On the similar line, Home Rule movement demanded the right of self-government in India. So first time Tilak introduced the word Swaraj or a dialogue, that is, there is the famous slogan given by the Lokmanya Tilak, that is, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. So we looked at these points in previous lecture. Now we will started with this already started with these points of Mahatma Gandhi and his arrival in India. Okay, basically before entering into the Indian politics, Mahatma Gandhi worked in South Africa. In South Africa, they led their Indians for their right, and they successfully introduced the concept of Satyagraha in South Africa. Now he wanted to introduce this concept in India. So first he traveled throughout India to get the informations or to identify the situations of the Indians. Gandhiji arrives in India in 9th January on the 9th January 1915. Gandhiji returned to India from South Africa. As suggested by the Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he made a tour of the entire nations. He becomes a sad, looking at the misery and poverty of the people. He took up the oaths to service the nations. He stayed at the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. He followed the new technique of Satyagraha philosophy to gain the justice for the common people. Philosophy of Satyagraha, Gandhiji brought in the novel technique of Satyagraha in the popular movement. Satyagraha means insistence of truth. The main objective of the Satyagraha is through the patience and Satyagraha an unjust person is made aware the truth and justice, and also bring the transformations in his vows. The persons following Satyagraha should never use a violence. Untruth means was the teaching of Gandhiji. Later, not only the India but many parts of the world followed and adopted the path of Satyagraha to fight against injustice. Gandhiji's paths of Satyagraha made an impact on the Martin Luther King, who was struggling for the right of the black in America, as well as on the Nelson Mandela in South Africa. So here Gandhiji successfully introduced this Satyagraha technique. Champaran Satyagraha. In Bihar, the farmers of Champaran regions were forced to cultivate indigo. The cultivators suffered economically since they have received fixed amount from the planters. Gandhiji went to Champaran in 1917. He organized a farmers in Champaran and launched agitations by following the way of Satyagraha. The Gandhiji's first way of Satyagraha, Gandhiji's first war of the independence in India became successful and farmers were given justice. Kheda Satyagraha. Due to the constant famines in Kheda district, the Gujarat, the crops have failed. Still, land taxes were forcibly collected by the government. Gandhiji suggested that the farmers should refuse to pay the tax. The farmers began to movement of the scrapping of tax at Kheda. In 1918, Gandhiji accepted the leadership of this movement. Within a short period of time, the government suspended the tax. The workers movement at Ahmedabad. During the First World War, there was a great inflation. Mill workers demanded for a rise in a salary, but the mill owners rejected this demand. As per the Gandhiji's advice, the workers went on hunger strike. Finally, mill owners had to back off, and salary of the workers were increased. Satyagraha against Rowlatt Act. In the First World War, the Indians were helped. The British, Indians felt that after the World War is over, there will be the system of governance for taking decisions for well-being of the Indians. There was a growing unrest among the Indians regarding the increasing prices and taxes. To suppress the discontent and the suggest measures about it, the committee was appointed under the Sydney Rowlatt. According to the recommendations of this committee, the new law was passed without considering the opposition of the Indian members in the Central Legislative Assembly on the 17th March 1919. The laws came into be known as a Rowlatt Act. This act gave the right to government to arrest anybody without any warrant and imprisoned without any trial. Appeal was prohibited against the punishment given through this act. The Indian called this act as a Black Act, and tide of anger arose all over India against this act. Gandhiji launched Satyagraha movement against it. On the 6th April 1919, he appealed to the Indians to follow the Hartal all over India against the act. Indians responded to this appeal on a large scale. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So here in 1920, Gandhiji launched Satyagraha against this Rowlatt Act, that is called as a Black Act. Okay, because with the help of this law act, the police will get the full right to arrest anybody on any basis and imprison that person. Okay. Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the movement that arose against the Rowlatt Act in Punjab province. Amritsar becomes the main center of this movement. The government had started to split the separation. Gandhiji was prohibited from entering into the province of Punjab. General Dyer issued order to ban the public meeting in Amritsar. Important leaders like Dr. Satyapal, Dr. Kichlu were arrested for their involvement in the Amritsar Hartal case. And as the protest against this, the 13th April 1990, on the Baishakhi day, the people of Amritsar assembled at a place named Jallianwala Bagh. General Dyer arrived with the armed forces. The place were enclosed from all sides and had only one small gate. General Dyer positioned his army chosen down the only gate. Without giving any prior notifications to the disarmed innocent people, he ordered his soldiers to fire. In 1660 rounds had been fired. The army continued firing until the ammunition was over. In this massacre was about 400 people, including men and women, were killed. So they ruthlessly behaved with the Indians, and they killed 400 people, innocent peoples who gathered there because of Baisakhi. General Michael Udair, governor of Punjab, was responsible for this massacre. Uh, all over India, there was a protest against this act. At protest against this massacre, Rabindranath Tagore gave away the title of Sir bestowed with him by these Britishers, British government. Later, Indian demanded for the inquiry of this massacre. Hence, the British government appointed the Hunter Commission. Then Killapod movement. Muslims all over the world regarded the rulers of Turkey as their religious leader. Uh, During this First World War, Turkey fought against the British to get the support from the Indian Muslims in a war. The British had assured that after the end of the war, Khalifa empire will not be harmed. But after the end of the First World War, England did not stick with its assurance. A great discontent arose among the Muslims. The movement started by the Indian Muslims to support Khalifa, called as a Khilafat movement. Gandhiji thought that on this problem, if Hindus and Muslims come together and started a national movement against the government, can should surely be brought its sense. Therefore, Gandhiji supported this Khilafat movement. The Khilafat committee accepted Gandhiji's proposal on the following of non-cooperation movement to the government. Hindu-Muslims unity was seen especially during this period. Non-cooperation movement, the concept non-cooperation movement, the concept behind this non-cooperation movement was that the British government in India is dependent only on the cooperations of the Indians. If the Indians adopted a complete non-cooperation, then British government will be completely collapsed. With these intentions, he evoked the people of India to take the part in this movement. In 1920, the Indian National Congress sessions was held at Nagpur. The resolutions of non-cooperation movement put forth by the Chittaranjan Das was accepted. All reins of the movements were given in the hands of Mahatma Gandhi. So here Mahatma Gandhi gave the leadership of all over India, and he started the non-cooperation movement in 1920. So we will stop here and we will continue in the next lecture.